Yeah, I'll just burst through. Now, nutrigenomics is a study of interaction between genes and diet. This is a very interesting topic again. These interactions are endowed with three interactions. Direct interactions, that is, a nutrient may sometimes interact with the receptor and it will act as a transcription factor and result in gene expression. There will be epigenetic interaction when the nutrient can alter the structure of the DNA. And then there are genetic variations, and the genetic variation can alter the gene functionality. The mechanism is that there is an altered metabolism. There is an altered dietary requirement for nutrients. Now, we have believed that nutrition or food will interfere with molecular and mechanisms of an organism. That is why nutrition takes a central stage in Ayurvedic therapy, with a personalized nutrition protocol which takes into account the Prakriti. We always merge the Pathya or the Ahara to maintain the dosha harmonization at the level of individual variability. Now, Ayur nutrigenomics is a concept of systematic integration of nutritional practices according to Ayurveda in relation with Prakriti of an individual. Actually, this is an advancement of the personalized nutrigenomic dietetics. There was a project actually where they revealed that the pooled RNA from Vata Pitta Kapha revealed differences in biological processes, and there were evident genetic variation among the Vata Pitta Kapha profile at the cellular manifestation. I think we'll not go to this. Now we'll go a little deeper into personalized nutrition. Personalized nutrition, which will go very much into our Ayur nutrigenomics or our Prakriti diet protocol, associates new genomic technologies considering a wide number of genes and their variants. The idea is to achieve optimal health. How? Now, the concept is that many chronic diseases, this actually works more in terms of a multifactorial approach, that many chronic diseases represent a phenotype of altered gene expression. This is because of an interaction between the environment factors and the genetic makeup. So they have got an inherited collection of susceptibility and protective genes. So what do we do now? Now that makes very much sensible that if we have an idea about the interaction between the genotype and the diet, then we can have a major helping hand in assessing the disease risk. And then we can initiate the preventive measures. Now we were doing it from the other way around. For us, we have the Vata Pitta Kapha Prakriti profile. We have got we know how to make the Prakriti analysis, and then we write the diet. Now they are doing it from the inside out part. That is, now we are exploring more into the genotype, and then we are trying to see what are the interactions with the diet. The disease promoting or disease preventing effects of specific diets may depend upon the genetic makeup. Friends, what I'm trying to tell is there are many more ideas, many areas where Ayurvedic scholars can enter because the area or our concepts are real solid. We need to have a conceptual clarity. We need to make up a practical implementation and a scientific updation. And at last, at the end, the goal of the entire system is to cleanse off the toxins and to bring back an optimum natural state. And the contribution is diet, exercise, lifestyle practices, and spiritual entity. We will not concentrate only on diet, only on exercise. No, that is not our way of dealing things. And our motto is wellness, disease management, and again coming back to wellness. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We are much obliged to listen to your immense and beneficial session, queries session.
Yeah.
I take the honor to present the queries put up by the delegates in front of you, ma'am. Yeah. As I said before, there are some questions for you, ma'am.
Yeah,
doubts.
Yeah. In case I will try to answer. In case I need a further reading, please send me to them. I can write and I can send it to you. No issues. I'll be happy to do so. Yeah.
First one, ma'am.
Yeah.
What is your opinion about intermittent fasting?
Fasting,
Good
you mean?
question.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it intermittent fasting?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting. Now, fasting is actually a very cultural aspect. It is the oldest known method of Lankana. We have got political and religious fasting. The fasting component is we have got this wet fasting and dry fasting. The problem comes in dry fasting. We need to be hydrated in fasting. That is a core point. Long fasting may not be good because that may lead to dhatu kshaya or it can lead to dhatu paga also. We will not advocate for that. In our concept and also from the contemporary science, fasting is a very useful, a very cost effective, and it also makes the person or the participant aware about himself. Now, the fasting is a way of reducing the toxins in the body. What we do from the naturopathy approach, what do they say? What do the naturopathy says is that there is an accumulation of morbid matter in the body, and the cell or the body as it is wants to get rid of it. Okay, so if we try to help the body by keeping our system quiet for some time, half of the job is done. And intermittent fasting on a regular basis, taking into account the physical and the mental status and not getting dehydrated, would be an excellent approach of maintaining health. But we should also remember that Rutucharya, for example, the Shishira Kala, we should not go for fasting, not during the convalescence period. Always take into account the Agni and also the Bala. I think that should be a good choice, actually. Please. I hope I have done justice.
Yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
may I have the second
Yes,
question
ma'am.
here?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you
Yeah.
please explain how Ahara can cause autoimmune diseases and how Ahara can prevent autoimmune diseases?
Okay, now listen. Autoimmune diseases, as we all know, is etiology unknown. That is what we say. Now, when we talk of the concept of disease causation, we have the germ theory, we have the epidemiological triad, we have the web of causation, and we have got the multifactorial disease causation. Ahara is a one which, when conducive, can maintain health. What is actually autoimmune disease? It is actually a prajnaparada at a cellular level. When the body does not know that it is for the benefit, and the body tries to do exaggerated activity, which is actually a form of prajnaparada, and the food can become, as we have discussed, a double-ended sword. If we take food in at a judicious combination, if we are in a position to, even if fast in a judicious position, there are many possibilities that we can avert autoimmune diseases, because there are many autoimmune diseases where food is considered as a risk factor. And the same diseases, we have got a pathya also. So the idea is food in the non-conducive form. We have got two types of food prescriptions. We can see that there are general prescriptions of diet in our Ayurvedic dietary principles, Nitya Sevaniya, the ones which should not be followed daily, the ones which should be taken in a Ritu, the ones which should not be taken in a Ritu, and we have got a specification for certain diseases. When there is a chance or a risk factor for an autoimmune disease, when you anticipate it, it would be a primordial prevention method to take care of the risk food items. But as a population strategy, I think the basic idea is to follow our basic concepts of Nitya Sevaniya Ahara, our this concept of Achara Rasayana. We have got two food items, Ghrita and Shira. These are the best rejuvenative food items. They are undoubtedly, even in the scientific platforms, we can be very sure if we talk about our basic food items. I think there is a lot of research going on in autoimmune disease and diet. A good read would really help. Thank you. Hello?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
The next question. Uh, how to control frequent appetite for a diabetic patient?
Okay, you are talking about Atyagni. Yeah. Now, see, the entire concept of when we're talking about food, you must have seen how obesity and diabetes is coming in between. Why? Because the entire protocol even in the Western world or even in our Shastra, we again go to diabetes or obesity because the prevalence is so much. Because the manipulation as diet and regimen will always have an inclination towards causation of these two diseases more prevalently. So, in a diabetic patient, why is a diabetic patient feeling atyagni? Because there is an element of vata and an element of pitta which is agitated. So we are supposed to give guru ahara. Now guru ahara, it has to be metabolically correct, so the best option would be fiber. What we do is that when we talk about yava, when we talk about food contents in diabetes, they are not supposed to be given in Duksha Swabhava. We have to improve upon the moisture content. We have to increase the bulk. The dietary fiber component is very important for a diabetic patient in terms of his composition and his bulk. Why? Because the satiety level will not be satisfied. So the patient should be nourished. Okay, the patient should have a bulk of food. You cannot expect a diabetic patient to be on empty stomach. We can actually reduce the starch content in the food. That is, what we can do is you can rewash the water of rice cooked water. Why we are going for wheat instead of rice? Because he will have a less taste inclination towards wheat if he is a South Indian. But this does not hold true now any longer, because the glycemic index in rice and wheat is almost same, and now our taste buds are equally inclined to both wheat and rice. So we have to try out new things. A very good way is to give guru ahara, especially with the dietary fiber component which is heavy, and to give raw vegetables, which are actually, if you give a cooked vegetable and a raw vegetable, of course a raw vegetable salad is going to be guru, and it will take longer time to digest, and it will have more amount of fiber. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And there is another one question. How Ruchya property will work on digestion, because Ajina is contraindicated for Dantadhavana.
Yeah, Ajit, that is a beautiful question, because I have actually had a conversation with many number of dentists, asking them, for example, in our concept of Dantathavana, those who cannot do Dantathavana can do Gandusha. Okay, 12 times. I had tried to, we had a inquiry to many dentists. They said that is not actually a possibility, because that people who are not able to brush their teeth cannot be holding Gandusha also. Now coming back to our question, you are talking about the Ajirna as a contraindication of Dantathavana. We are talking about Rucha property as a consequence of Dantathavana. So we are not in the normal course. Anytime we do Dantathavana, it will remove the kleda, it will remove the oral cavity malleus. We will have a clean mouth, and the sliminess will be removed. The taste buds will be cleaned. They will be stimulated. Our concept of Dantathavana's property is Ruchya, but it is contraindicated in Ajirna, for the reason that Ajirna Rogi is not supposed to do Dantathavana, but do a mild Gandusha. And Dantathavana is contraindicated in all Shirorogas also. In certain conditions, when the patient cannot be in a position to do Dantathavana, he can do Gandusha. I hope it is clear. Should I go once more? The point is that it is a property of Dantathavana to provide Ruchya, and thereby the capacity to, or the idea is to relish the food item. We'll go back to the Arogya Lakshana. It says that unless and until you have a liking for the food, it is not enough that you have a hunger for the food. You should be able to have a liking for the food. You should be able to taste the food properly. Then you should be able to digest the food taken. I think the whole process of Dantathavana, Jihva Nirlehana is to make the taste bud sensitive to the food item, and to feel for example, you may not feel good if you take a tea or any type of breakfast without brushing the teeth. The simple reason is that the mouth may be because of the bad smell and the sliminess. Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. The questions.
Okay, if there are any more, please, I can even get a little
Yes,
bit
ma'am.
more deeper, then I can send the answers.
There is one last question,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
What is your opinion about ketone diet, ma'am?
Ketone diet, we have had wonderful sessions on ketone diet. There are more than there is a British Journal of Nutrition actually has published a big data on the available diet. In that, ketone diet has not got a high rating for the simple reason is that it is a very reductive diet, and as an Ayurvedic physician and a scholar and a student, we must try to have a look at judicious look at such diet items, because the Mediterranean diet, I could say, is a better form of a diet. Ketone diet is a hype actually. People are a little bit more into it. Diet is a phenomenon. Dieting, as it is said that it is having negative impact on the body also. Ketone diet tries to be very stringent. It does not provide the due nourishment, and it has got certain serious there are many studies which are going on. We had a class by a famous nutritionist. She was opinion, because I have not given ketone diet, that there are many fads and facts regarding many forms of diet coming up. The problem with all these diet they are trying to popularize is that they try to suppress the hunger. The suppressing the hunger is not the right way. Why? Because it does not hold on for long. The idea is to know which food item or what is the causative factor. I will try to give an example. Okay, suppose somebody is coming to us with a hypothyroidism. Okay, a lady has come, she is obese and she wants to put down her weight. We will give, we will try to give any form of diet therapy, normal diet therapy, without inquiring into the causative factor. Now, this can be because of a stress factor. This can be because of an iron deficiency factor. So depending upon the causative factor and an interrogation, we can change we have to act according on to that. Most of the women, for example, always have an iron deficiency issue. They have an iron absorption issue. So it would be better to think of our ways of managing counseling, maybe an interrogation for 1 hour, to know about their physical status, to know about their mental status. And I am particularly not in terms of ketone diet, because it is for me, as far as I have read, I have not given it. It is a reduction therapy. It is a very stringent form, and it does not go into the formulation of food, because food is something which we need to relish. We said about ishtam, priyam, and hitam. If it does not become ishtam, priyam, and hitam, it does not succeed. That is what we have seen, to the little of my knowledge. Yeah, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you for your wonderful answers, ma'am.
Thank you, dear.
Coming up next in this substantial session, I'm gratified to welcome Dr. Chandramoulishwaran P., Professor of Panchakarma, Ayurveda College, Coimbatore, to deliver his vote of thanks.
Good evening, all of you.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, all of you, participants, the speaker, and my colleagues and students. It was a wonderful session, and on behalf of my institution, thank you, Madam, Dr. Anupama Krishnan, Madam. Thank you so much for your enlightenment. I also extend my valuable support to our audience from various parts of India, even the world. Thank you, one and all, for listening to this. If you have any further questions or anything, directly you can contact Dr. Anupamaji. Thank you very much. Take care all. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the lovely hospitality. Thank you very much. I hope we could navigate a little. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anupama.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Delegates, the next session will be resumed by Dr. Ajay in shortly. I request the delegates to stay connected.